Did you know that there are four seasons? Yeah, we all know that. There's winter, there's summer, there's spring, there's fall. But which season really do you think about fitness, health, and looking your best? You know, the answer is summer. Everybody's looking forward to summer. Coach Aaron and I are looking forward to summer. And so we created something we call Summer Shred. And we want to get looking our best for that season. And for all the guys who are out there right now thinking about jumping in on this opportunity to work with us, alongside of us, we're going to take you through today on a journey of how to prepare for a 12-week challenge. Those of you who aren't taking part in our challenge, we still want you to listen because you're going to find that this is the setup you need for success, no matter what you're doing in your fitness, in your journey, because we know you still want to get ready for summer too. So today it's 10 things to prepare for a 12-week challenge, getting ready for this summer, looking good, looking badass, and being the best version of your ultimate man self that you can be. So Coach Aaron's with me today. Welcome to the Ultimate Man Podcast. Coach Aaron, how you
Let's,
doing, brother?
I'm doing good, buddy. How you doing? Let's get this party started. It's time to get ripped and ready and shredded for summer.
Yeah. Let's go. Awesome. And so this challenge kind of was inspired by you, Coach, because you were actually just finishing what you called kind of like a bulk phase, right? So tell us about your body a little bit, just to kind of frame where you're at right now and why this is really exciting for you.
Yeah, totally. So I just got through with my bulk. I started my bulk at about 195, and then I got up to almost 220, probably like 215 to 220 right in there. So I put on a good, solid 15, 20 pounds of mass and a lot of muscle with that. I took my measurements beforehand and I put like, good, I got my arms up to 18 inches for the first time. So I was pretty stoked about that. I put measurements on my chest, my shoulders. Obviously, the waist came up a little bit because you gain a little bit of body fat at the same time when you're doing a bulk. But yeah, I was really happy with my progress. And then, so that was the winter bulk. And then now, at this time of year, I like to start because my birthday is May 23rd. So, right. So, like, if I start 12 weeks is like the perfect amount of time to start right before my birthday because I like to be in the best shape of the year come birthday time. So this is just about 3 months out from my birthday. So this is when I usually start my shreds, and so I'll probably go down from like 215 where I'm at now, and I'll probably shred back down to about, I want to get under 200 pounds, get my body fat percentage down to where like the abs are popping and stuff again. So it's just something that I do every year, but I'm like, why don't I just, take our whole crew through the fighters fitness formula and fat loss formula, I call it. I'm just how to get ripped and ready and shredded up for summer. So I'm super stoked about doing it for myself and taking some guys through it too.
That's awesome. I feel honored to be on the journey too. You know what I mean? That's cool. I like going through it. I like taking clients through it. And I've seen some pictures of you at your absolute shredded, best. And what do you think your body fat percentage is? If you had an indicator, like an idea, or I mean, you probably tracked it. What's the lowest percentages you've been down at?
Gosh, even in some of those recent pictures you saw from like my last birthday pictures, if I take the Omron measurements, the handheld one, I
Yeah,
think that's about 12% or something like that, which is it might be. I think those things are plus or minus like 3% accuracy or something
sure.
like that. So that's probably a good ballpark. I think anything for myself under 15, and I'm feeling pretty confident about the way I look.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. And I think that there's something to be said there for the amount of muscle mass you have, that even at 12%, which to some people might sound still a little bit high because a lot of people chase that single digit body fat, with the amount of
Totally.
muscle you have pushing itself to the surface and occupying that space at 12%, it's shining. I mean, it's just, the amount of muscle, you can see it. Where if someone is not really focused on the muscle mass and they're just focused on weight loss and body fat reduction, it's going to take single digit before you start to see anything because there's nothing under there to show. I always use the analogy of like a curtain, right? And you got the whole prop setup behind of the show, the theater. It's all, everything's in place. What a beautiful set that they've got. but there's a big ass curtain in front of it, right? You in the crowd don't see anything. And then all of a sudden, ta-da, they pull back the curtain and reveals everything that's underneath. But if you haven't built anything underneath, there's nothing to reveal. And you got to keep pulling back until, like you just pull back the curtain and it's like the biggest, wah, 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 you know what I mean? There's nothing to celebrate. So you want to focus on building that muscle. And obviously you've got a great amount of muscle mass, Coach Aaron, and therefore the body fat at 12% looks, like it might on someone who's single digit. So yeah, credit to you, bro. And I'm looking forward to the journey, man. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But there's a lot of things you had to do to even know that number. You mentioned the Omron device. That's one of the things we're going to talk about today. The first thing on our list of top 10 things. So guys who are watching our podcast or listening, if you're driving, again, you might want to just kind of listen back to this when you can, where you can make some notes. The first thing we think you should do is to start with comparison photo. We talked about it in the last episode when we were discussing body dysmorphia. So if you haven't seen that episode, go check that out. It's body dysmorphia. And we talked about the way we see ourselves, the negative self-talk and the mirror image. And then we get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm trying to make a change. I have to take a photo so I can see some progress, but I hate the way I look. I don't like looking at myself in the mirror. I don't want to see a picture of myself. So guys talk themselves out of taking the photo. I get so many clients who start and they go, yeah, I'll take the photo. And then they just don't. And then they go, 6 weeks in, they start seeing changes like really nice. And they go, oh, dude, I wish I had taken that photo like you said I should.
Yeah. Then they're pissed 2 to 3 months down the road. Then they're pissed and they're like, I wish I would have taken photos. So just do it now, bros.
That's right. It's so true. And you're right. They're pissed and they're like, oh man, I should have. We have a ton of woulda, shouldas, right? Life is full of should. I should have done this. I should have done that. And like Anthony Robbins says, you end up shoulding all over yourself. Right? So take the photos. And our recommendation is take a front photo and then take a side photo, take a back photo, like turn around and try to do it from a consistent distance each time. What are some of your tips, Coach, when you take a good photo? Because you got some really nice photos. What do you do?
Just like a blank background, so there's not a lot of distraction in the background. Wear some shorts too, so you can see your legs. Let's see, lighting's good enough, so it's not all dark and stuff, so that if you could just take it in the same place too, like if you take your first month, your second month, your third month, try to keep them in the same place, then for that accuracy, when you look back on it, it'll be a lot easier to see the little changes in the body happening.
Perfect. Yeah, you're right. And it's crazy to think, but if you're taking a shot outside in your yard and you take the next shot in the living room against the wall with a picture of your family in the background, and then the next picture's, down in your dark basement, it's like you can't compare those photos. They don't even look the same, even though you're the same individual. The whole perspective is different. So be consistent with where you take it and what you're wearing when you take it. I've noticed with clients the color that you're wearing throws off the image. It's kind of crazy, but color perception to our eye, like for example, some people will say, well, a dark color, like a black color, makes things look smaller. You wear a white color, it looks larger. It's just a perception thing. And here's Coach Aaron and I right now, those of you watching the podcast, I'm literally wearing black. He's literally wearing white. That's why he looks bigger than me.
Yeah, that's it.
It's all color,
That's
man.
good.
Mind
It
trick.
is. It's all
No.
perspective, bro.
So the idea is obviously wear something revealing too. I can't tell you how many times clients have hid behind baggy clothes. I'm like, you can't see what's changing. You got a baggy tank top and you want to see, well, I'd like to see my waistline trimming in a little bit. Well, show us, right? You can't see if your shirt's hanging down like the curtain. You got, we're never going to see what's behind it. So try to reveal the stomach. If it's, guys, take the shirt off. Be confident. Take the shirt off. Grab a pair of shorts. And again, don't wear fucking basketball shorts down to your ankles. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
you get that too, right? And you're like, oh, I want to see my quads, but I can't really tell. It's like you got to try to reveal. And we're not saying you got to show up in a Chippendales thong either. Like be reasonable and because you might want to post this picture down the road on your social media,
Yeah.
because you will be proud of it. You're damn right you will. Well, we know this.
Yeah.
We've seen it with all kinds of clients. So I think those are some
Yeah.
pretty good tips. What else, Coach?
Yeah, another really good one is I like to do mine both relaxed and flexed. So like do just the relaxed position, just standing there, not, sucking it in or sticking it out from all the different sides, front, side, back angles. So you're hitting 360 degrees. And then do it as well with some of your favorite like flexing poses. So like hit a double that, double bicep or most muscular pose or a flare your back out or whatever it is. And so then you have your relaxed and flex both from the starting point and your 3 month transformation.
Really good point. I love that because again, if you take that front relaxed, you might not see the gain you're making in, let's say, your arms, for example, until you actually hit the flex front double bicep. And then you're like, oh my God, my arms look so good in that. You would have never seen that had you not taken that. So great advice on flex versus relaxed. It's a big difference there. And we're not saying you're trying to Photoshop it and fix all the others. Just take a photo and make sure you follow the tips and guides that we just gave you guys, and you're going to have a great point number one, starting with a good quality comparison photo. So, are we ready for point two? Sound good?
Yes, sir.
All
Yep,
right. Point two now is we got a visual of the body, but we also need to measure the body. So, measurement of circumference is point number two. Using a tape measure, which you can use in any regular sewing kit. I've had people use a carpenter's measuring tape. It doesn't roll around the body very well, but they've taken a piece of string and actually measured their body with string, and then they've kind of pinched the string at the connection point, taken it and put the string along the carpenter's measure tape to see how many inches that is. That's pretty genius, right? I was like, okay, so even when you don't have measuring tapes of so let's say one of these soft, those of you watching, we've got like a soft measuring tape that you can use that just kind of, is your regular tape. You can actually do it with string and a carpenter's measuring tape, which most people have around the house. But that's just one way you can get the tape measure around there. And then you want to check on key areas, which again is really important because you're going to look for areas of change. So we made a few notes. The waistline obviously is a major factor. We want to see the waistline reductions. But like Coach Aaron said, if you're bulking up to some degree to build muscle, you may see some increase in the midsection. It's good to know that that increase is there. You should measure it. Because even if we can see that it's going up, and we know it's going up because of that muscular build and the water retention, and it's a good indicator that you're moving in the right direction. So waistline is really important, whether you're going up or down with the weight, the hips, the chest, the arms, the thighs, and of course I like to even do the neck because I think that there's some inflammation signs that we can see in the neck, even if you're not doing massive neck development. I mean, we're not really hitting any neck exercises other than some good trap work sometimes, but just to see if there's some like inflammation in the glands and things like that. So on circumference measurements, what do you think, Coach? What do you like to add to that?
Neck is a good one. And a lot of guys, that are training like for jujitsu and stuff, I have a couple guys that actually want to increase their neck strength. So maybe some guys are doing some neck strengthening exercises to try to get that a little bit bulkier to avoid the guillotines and the chokes and stuff.
Right. Hey, cool.
Yeah. And then as well as the torso and the chest, I like to go around the outside of the shoulders too. So you get that widest part of the shoulders.
Yes. Very
And then
good.
the calves, obviously, and I'll even do forearms, although usually don't see a ton of growth in the forearms or the calves. Really, I see more muscle definition in the calves.
Yeah.
But I think that covers the majority of them right there. Yeah.
Excellent. Good. I like the added shoulders and chest. Obviously, chest is a major one for the beach. When you take your shirt off, it's all about chest and arms, and of course, abs. Abs is, I always say, again, my analogies, right? The abs is the centerpiece on the table, right? You got a really nice looking spread going on, all the food, everything. That's the whole upper body, but the abs are the centerpiece, man. People's eyes just go right to the abs. In fact, like men's health magazines and stuff, notice the cover guy is always a dude with like 6-pack abs, right? Always. It's like
Yeah.
it's almost the gauge of, are you fit or not? Do you have abs? And it's like you got to really work nutrition to get that part going. And we'll talk about that too, because that's another one of our points you need to touch on and get ready for. But we're trying to help you prepare in advance. So get those tape measures done, get those circumference measurements, follow our guide, mark down the spots we just talked about, and you'll be set up for success on point number two. Ready for three? Body composition analysis. And you're thinking to yourself, is that not the same thing, body composition? Well, no. If available, you're going to use a scale that dives deeper than just your measurement of your body. But now we want to measure the weight of the body, which is one factor. This is where most people get caught up. They get hung up on how much they weigh. And then they go, okay, well, if I'm weighing, let's just say 200 pounds, my goal is to hit 185. If I told you could be 195, full of muscle and lean, would you still pick 185? If it meant you having to lose muscle and lean down and become skinny version of yourself, no, you'd pick 195. So don't worry about the weight. Just track it, measure it, and let's see which way it's moving. But there's also other factors you have to consider, right? And so when we're doing this, you want to try and get a scale that can measure body fat. And Coach Aaron was talking about the Omron, the handheld device. And that's a great device, like for that, you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is, right? We're not going to say it's perfect. It's not, underwater submersion, and it's not a DEXA scan. It's, like, there's a lot of different factors of different quality ratings or readings you can get. But there are some foot scales as well that you stand on, and they do the same thing as the Omron. They measure through the feet, and they send an electric signal based on your height and your age and your weight and all that. You put the stats in so it knows, and then any fat that it incurs during the conductivity of that would act as, a reading for them. So it can measure bone density and muscle mass, and it can make those calculations for you. And that's what we're talking about when we say composition analysis. These scales are available on Amazon and things like that now for in and around, and I'm talking Canadian dollars, probably like $30-$40 in Canadian dollars. So if we're talking American, it's even less than that. Right. So, Coach,
Yeah.
where you are, have you got a foot scale that measures electronic through the feet, or do you just use the handheld?
I just have the handheld because I've had it forever, and that's what I've always used. But the foot scale is probably the easiest thing for the
Mm.
majority of people out there. Then you can get your weight and your body fat at the same time.
Totally. Yeah, two birds, one stone is the expression, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Save yourself time and easy, and of course save yourself money. You won't need to buy two devices. If you have a scale already, then you could go ahead and buy whatever you want, but upgrade your scale if you got an old one and get a new one that's digital. And they actually go right to your app now on your phone. So you can actually get the reading off the scale right to your phone, and you'll have a data image. And here's the cool part. If you got a coach, you can actually send the data image to them and say, what do you see here? Right? Instead of you trying to figure it all out and work the science and what is skeletal muscle, what is subcutaneous fat, what are all the, what does it mean here? What is visceral? What is, there's a lot of factors, and you're going to be confused by most of the readings you get. If you have a coach, you can send that direct right off your screenshot. And then Coach Aaron or myself or someone like that could look at it and say, okay, let me explain, let me break it down for you and show you what you're seeing this week. Because you might see the weight, and that's the only thing you think you understand. Right? So you gained 5 pounds. You're like, oh, this is going in the wrong direction. It's immediate, right? You think, again, unless you're trying to gain weight, but then you don't even know why you gained weight. Was it water? Was it muscle? Was it fat? You're still lost, right? And so we can break the numbers down for you. And of course, that it's having those numbers that matter, or else you can't break anything down. You're just left beating yourself up because the number didn't go in the right direction. How many times have
yeah.
we seen that, right? How many clients have you had, coach, that messaged you with that mindset of it's all based on the number on the scale for weight?
Yeah, yeah. I've had a bunch of, past female clients that are just their weight starts going up a little bit because they start doing some strength training, but they want to lose weight. And then I'm like, don't worry about it for this first month or so. Just keep training hard and it's all going to balance out. And then a couple months later, they're like, oh yeah, because their metabolism increased from adding the muscle. They're looking more toned. And then they're like, some of them, my gals in the past have even remained the same weight, but just the body composition radically changed the way that they look. So don't give the scale as much weight as you should.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So the body composition analysis on a digital format like that scale is very valuable. But Coach Aaron made a great point to me before we started the podcast today. There's also a physical component of assessment that could fall under body composition analysis. And I wanted you to elaborate a little bit on that for our listeners today. We were talking about, the fit test, the cardio, the flexibility. If you could kind of give us some idea there, Coach, what are some of the physical things that a guy should measure before getting started?
Yeah, for sure. So body composition, if you're trying to, burn fat, gain muscle, and just change the way that you look. And then a lot of people are also very performance based and they have some performance goals. So if you're looking to increase your cardiovascular conditioning, your endurance, your overall strength, your overall mobility and flexibility, you definitely want to do something like I have my guys take my Fit test, which is basically going through our Fight Fit workout, which is 3 5-minute rounds like an MMA workout. But it also assesses your level of muscular endurance very well in that because you're doing some calisthenic exercises for time and you have to count your repetitions so that you come up with like a total score of like how you perform, and then you can see how you do, against your stats when you started versus how you do a month or two down the road. So you can see your progression with that, and you can also see your progression of like how you compare and stack up against other guys that have done the fit test as well.
Mhm.
So that's one really good one. And then also just if you're trying to, assess your overall strength gains, you obviously want to do some type of like your compound movements like a bench press, squat, deadlift, and get your strength assessment on those. And I also like to do some flexibility stuff. How can you touch your toes? Get a measurement like a tape like you had there, sit down on the floor, straighten your legs out, and see how far you are from touching your toes and measure that. That's just one simple flexibility assessment. There's a whole multitude of different ones for all the different joints. But just to give you an idea, you don't want to just test if your goal is performance based. You need to test your current cardiovascular endurance ability, your strength, your flexibility, and all those other factors as well.
That's awesome, man. I think that's really cool. Is what I'm hearing you say is that there's more than just the tape measure and just the digital scale. There's a physical element that can also see improvement, even if you didn't see improvement in the last two things. For example, your weight didn't move and your body fat percentage didn't change or whatever. And you're saying to yourself, I guess I'm not doing it right or it's not working. But if you saw improvement in your flexibility or you saw improvement in your actual strength performance, you're still winning huge. Your quality of life's getting way better. Is that what you're saying? Am I right on that?
Yeah, 100%. And we could even throw like, lab work and blood analysis into that equation as well. So if like you're really looking to optimize your health markers, maybe you want to take some lab work beforehand and see where your cholesterol levels are at,
Nice.
where your fasting blood glucose is to if you're, pre-diabetic or not. And those are the things that really start to matter as you start to get older, is like, how do you feel on the inside? Like, fuck how you look on the outside if you don't feel good on the inside, right? You want the best of both worlds. And we talked about this before. If you become better, healthy on the inside, your aesthetics, the way you look usually tends to follow, right?
Hmm. Yeah, that's right. I love that.
Yeah.
Your body follows suit with where your mind's going, right? That's awesome. You're right, man. And I think that I had a chance to see this firsthand even when we did the box and burn challenge last year, I believe it was. And I saw the people engaged in that who were tracking their fight fit workout test, the fit test.
Yeah.
And they were marking down, the amount of X amount of whatever exercise you were requiring they test. And they were blown away with what they could do in the first place because they've never actually tracked that. And I said something on the last episode when we talked about, I think, body dysmorphia episode. Again, another banger from us. We were talking about this client I had when I said, how many sit-ups can you do? And they said 15, and then they got down and did 20. The whole point of that was that they didn't really have any start point. They didn't know. So once they got down and did 20, now we have a start point. 21 is going to feel amazing. 22, And so when I saw it in Box and Burn, you gave them a chance to set their first number by doing the test. From there, they had a measurable. And I think, if anything, that gamifies the process. It makes it fun because now you're
Yeah. Yeah.
competing against yourself to do better than you did. Am I right on that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. It's a game changer when you can see where you're currently at and you can look at like, okay, here's my score for my last fit test. And then when you're doing the next one, you're like, okay, I'm just going to try to, beat this exercise by a couple reps. And then I'm going to beat the next exercise by a couple reps. And then your whole total score goes up and you're like, yeah, crushed it. You know what I mean? It's cool to see that progress.
So good. I watched it live when we did that challenge, and it was just impressive to see. And guys who are listening, you can see now why the data collection at the beginning of all this is critical. Everything we've talked about, from the comparison photo to the tape measure to the body analysis and now the physical analysis of the body, these are all start points. Every one of them is a different start point. And you're thinking, holy shit, there's a lot of ways to measure progress. But this is the reason most people give up on fitness. They don't even have any measurables. They didn't take any of them. They just started and go, I'm going to do a new workout and see what happens. I'm going to try a new diet, see what happens. And they get a little result and then it fizzles out. And they're like, oh, I'm just not motivated to do this. It's because you didn't have any sign of motivation. Motivation comes from the success. You got to have some start points to get to some finishing, like to see progress from. And it's in that progress that you're getting results, therefore getting motivated by those results. And the minute you don't have a goal you're working towards or a measurable that you can track, you're lost. You're just wandering around completely aimless. So, listening to this podcast, if this is connecting with you, you want to make sure that you're not only liking and subscribing to our channel, but you're sharing this with people who are feeling exactly what you're feeling right now. You know, people out there like it because Coach Aaron and I have both been in those shoes before. And that's why we want to bring you these episodes to give you more and more information. The next one we're about to dive into here on point number 4 has to do with your environment. And the environment you're in, specifically when it comes to nutrition, is most often the kitchen. So we're going to be diving into the kitchen. And I know in one of our episodes we talked about this, and I said if we were to have you invite us in to your kitchen, and Coach Aaron and I showed up today, would you be proud for us to look around your kitchen and see what you have in the fridge, in the cupboards, in the pantries? Or would you be like, hey, give me 2 days, I'm going to clean shit up, and then you guys can come over, right? So where's your kitchen state right now? That's what we're going to dive into, is how can we help you get this going? So we want to talk about removing some of those processed, unhealthy foods. We're going to give you that 2 days notice to clean up the place before the challenge, right? Get ready. And then remove the unhealthy foods that you already know are causing problems, but they're the high sugar, the high trigger point items that are just, once you have one, you can't stop. Those types of things. Those are obviously not whole foods, because whole food doesn't have that addictive factor. Whole foods don't have those additives and those preservatives that make you want to, they're not engineered to make you need more, right? For the sake of boosting sales. Keep that in mind when you talk about processed food. They've engineered that. It's been modified, created so you need to crave it. The companies even use slogans like, bet you can't eat just one, right?
Yeah.
Come on. They're literally taunting you with their
Exactly.
right? Okay.
Freaking evil.
Right? Propaganda. We're gonna get our podcast canceled here. So the kitchen is your place of most often temptation, and you want to remove those temptations. Now, listen, we're not asking you to get rid of it forever. We're saying if you've set a goal, a beginning date, an end date, there's going to be a timeline. We like the 12-week approach. It's a good amount of time for habits to change and conform to new lifestyle change. It takes time. This isn't going to be your end result, and you're not going to be, at the end of your journey. This is a great start point, but any challenge you do is to get that ball rolling and really get you into the right state. So for the next 12 weeks, you want to set up a kitchen for success, clean up the environment. That's what we're saying. And then again, at the end of 12 weeks, if you're feeling amazing, you're looking freaking chiseled and feeling great, there's a less chance you're going to bring that stuff back into the environment. You're just going to find that it's not worth it to you. And that's great. We want to have that mental change. So cleaning the kitchen, getting out those sugary snacks, processed foods, and unhealthy beverages, which is another one, from your pantry, your fridge, and things like that. But Coach, I know you wanted to dive a little further too, as we talked about meal prep and Tupperwares and things like that in getting into that, which might fall into point 5 as we talk about healthy foods. But what about cleaning up the kitchen? Is there anything you want to touch in on specifically in the kitchen environment that they should really look for in advance? If they're giving us, we're giving you 2 days notice to clean it up. What do you think they need to do?
I think you covered it pretty well, brother. I mean,
Okay.
you know what you look at. Send us a picture of your fridge and we'll tell you what the hell to get out of there if you don't know already. But intuitively, I think you know what you should be getting out of your cupboards and your fridge. So just clean the shit out of there, put it in a separate cupboard, get it away from you. If you have other people in the house that still partake of it, get it out of your sight. And then, I think we're going to go into this maybe into the next and into number 5, but I know we're talking about meal prep. So,
Yeah.
Get yourself some Tupperware is also like food prep is just a game changer. Get yourself some Tupperware. I like to have at least 8 or 10 of them on me so that I can have Tupperware already pre-filled for a couple days in advance. So that's a big one.
That's good. And I like that you went on the Tupperware, because we're going to talk about the next part. If you clean up the kitchen, we've given you the notice, you clean it up and you're like, okay, guys, come check it out. I got an empty kitchen, right? It's like, well, no, we don't want you to have an empty kitchen. We need you to have a kitchen full of healthy foods, which brings us to point 5. You got to go grocery shop to get ready, right? You're going to take out the bad stuff, but you need to replace it. Just like a good habit change, right? We talked about this in one of the episodes when we talked about habit changes. We said you can't just get rid of a habit. You want to replace it with a good one. Same thing with food. You got to get rid of those trigger foods, those high processed foods, replace them with some good whole foods over the next 12 weeks. And so having your kitchen ready is to have Tupperware ready to put it in. That's a great tip for sure. Then we want to make sure we have some actual food you can show us and say, check it out. This is what I'm going to be eating in the next 12 weeks. Here are my selections. Build your own little community grocery store in your kitchen, in your pantries, and you're going to feel good about it, so much so that you'll take that picture and show us. So clean slate kitchen leads to healthy food replacements. So stock up on these. And we're talking about nutrient dense options like lean proteins, vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. Now, most again, like Coach Aaron said, you already know this. If you're listening to our podcast, you're probably fairly versed in the basics of fitness and health. And you're like, I know I should be eating fruits and veggies. And I've heard a lot about protein. It's good. So lean meats and things like that are going to be very beneficial to get protein from. So you're going to want to start stocking up on that, what you know. We're not saying you need to be a pro at it. Just start making the healthier choices. Go buy that stuff now to get it ready and bring it in, because those are going to be the fuels that you're going to use over the next 12 weeks towards your journey in transformation. So there's a lot of foods I personally stock up on. And once I find what I like, that's all you're going to see in my place, right? I don't have a lot of variety. People come in and go, you got a boring ass kitchen. I'm like, yeah, but it works for me. Everybody's different, but I love the foods I'm having, and I love the way my body looks and feels, and you know what I mean? So the result is what I'm getting from it. And so Coach Aaron, your kitchen will look probably a lot like mine, but you might have a few things that I don't have. And it's because that suits your lifestyle and your preferences as well. Maybe you've got allergies to certain things. You got to make some modifications. So guys listening, when you go to do this, you're going to keep in mind the things that you need to do to get healthy food in, but make sure that you're following, a healthy prescription for the high protein, the carbohydrates, and the fats that are going to benefit us on a whole food basis. And when we say whole food, check your labels. If it's got 15 ingredients on the label, chances are that's not a whole food. That's more of a processed food. It took 15 different items chemically to put it together. They've manufactured that, right? Whole foods usually have one ingredient, eggs, chicken, fish, right? So,
Yeah.
Coach, what do you want to add to the stock up on the healthy foods? Because we're going to talk about meal frequency and timing. There's a lot of stuff we want to cover here. But what about the whole food? What should they be shopping for? Like in general, did I cover it all? And is there anything you want to add?
I think that's pretty good. I mean, it is just kind of a little bit tricky when you have people that have different dietary preferences, like you mentioned, meats and fruits and vegetables and whole grains. Like some people are, against grains, for instance, so they don't have grains in their diet. So you might have to make some adjustments on the healthy foods that you're going to get if you're opposed to that, or if you don't do dairy, like I don't do whey protein because I have allergies to that. You'll have to pick some different types of protein powders, or have some other different sources of protein in there for that. Or if you're more ketogenic or something like that, you might, kind of err on the side of like staying away from some of the fruits and the higher starchy vegetables. So there's a lot of kind of nuances that go into what your healthy, shopping list is going to look like, depending on which food style you go with as well.
Mhm. So safe to say you can definitely, get some help on personalizing it as you need, obviously. If you don't already know, then you're going to want to get help to structure that grocery shopping list, because it's not as cookie cutter as a lot of people like to believe it to be. Although, yes, like Coach Aaron said, we know the difference between the bad food and the good food. We clean out the kitchen of the bad stuff, put the good stuff in, but we still want to consider which ones are fulfilling the macronutrient requirement of your specific style. I like that you mentioned protein powder in there, because a lot of people have questions about supplements. And today we're just giving tips on what to get ready for. But you mentioned supplements, and we're not going to give you a list of supplements to start going out and buying. But I believe that, and I believe you believe the same, in each phase, there are different supplements that you can use to maximize the result. And by each phase, we mean when you're training during your 12-week transformation, you may use certain supplements to accelerate the process, or to fulfill the need of the things you're not getting during that particular time. So is there something that you can talk to us on, Coach, about supplements for each phase, in the way that the body might need different things along the process of the 12 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, definitely if you're in a bulking phase versus a cutting phase, the whole supplement regimen is going to be completely different. You'll have some basic staples that you'll want to keep in there, like some creatine, for instance, if performance and strength and everything is your goal. But yeah, we have, a whole supplement type protocol based on whether you're in a bulk or a cut phase in our Ultimate Man Academy and forum. So you can
Mhm.
always access that too. We'll put a link in the description in the show notes below if you want to get into the Ultimate Man community. And here's something else I was just thinking about regarding supplements. A lot of people, like we said, we kind of know what's good for us or not. Some people have no fucking clue, bro.
Mhm.
Like I talked to several clients that they're like, oh, they're just trying to bulk up. So they have these mass weight gainer formulas and stuff. But at the same time, they get their blood work back or they see their doctor and they're like potentially pre-diabetic and the fucking weight mass gainer has a bunch of just simple sugars in it and stuff that are spiking their blood sugar. So, like, if you have other health conditions or concerns, you're getting a little bit older, like, you need to take a lot of these factors into consideration and just, you can't just get some regular supplement and think that you're putting a lot of calories in you and doing good for yourself when you're actually taking in a shit ton of sugar at the same time and doing potentially harmful things to your body. So, you got to be really smart about your supplement selection.
That's damn good. Yeah. And again, you speak from experience because you've been through these phases, you've used different supplements, and you've seen the result on yourself and on clients as well. The phase training is something we're going to talk about later on in one of our points when we talk about the periodization of your programming. But the meal frequency, we talk about, which was because we're still on the food topic here, and we talked about supplement. But what about, the workouts? Do the people listening have any clue as to what you might eat before your workout or after, like pre-workout, post-workout? And there's such a thing as even intro workout, which a lot of people have never really dabbled with. What are your thoughts there, Coach, on the intro workout? Is there like, do you stop and like just whip out a Tupperware in the middle of your workout and start chowing, or how does that work?
No. Um, Remind me to talk about meal frequency. I had a thought about that one too.
Okay.
But yeah, the intro workout is something that can be very beneficial for guys that are, working that are maybe doing longer training sessions
Mhm.
that are more performance based and they want to be able to, keep the same level of intensity at the end of their long training session as at the beginning. So on my high intensity training days, I kind of do like a pre, intra, post workout kind of combo. I kind of
Okay.
throw it all together,
Yeah.
but it's got my own special concoction in there that gives some things that are going to help boost performance pre-workout, get you, charged up a little bit, and then also give you some sustained energy, and some fast, glucose and stuff to be able to utilize during the workout so you don't end up bonking towards the end. And then
Nice.
that post workout too, if you're creating some major muscle damage from some heavy strength training and stuff too, making sure that post workout meal is pretty substantial also.
Wicked. Are you going to give us guys in the summer shred a copy of your secret recipe for intro
I
workout?
will. I will most definitely,
Yeah.
dude. It's a game changer. You're going to notice a big difference in your training.
Love it. Love it. Yes, get in, boys, get in. All right, now we're talking
uh,
about meal frequency. You said you want to dive in a little bit on that. What's the thought?
yeah, meal frequency is just something I see people screwing up all the time. Like I'll do just, a lot of intakes on my strategy sessions with new clients and stuff, and they'll tell me what their goals are, and then they'll tell me how many times a day they're eating. And sometimes they're just they're trying to gain some muscle mass and stuff, but they're following like an intermittent fasting protocol and they're only eating like one or two times a day. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I know you're trying to like stay lean in the process of putting on some muscle and stuff. That's probably just not the best ideal way to go about it. So, and there's both ends of the spectrum, too
Mhm.
on that. So you
Yeah,
got it.
I like that. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I was listening to a
No.
podcast recently where they were discussing that exact topic, and they were saying there's a bit of a difference between the bodybuilding community of the past, like let's say performance enhanced athletes who are taking the testosterone enhancements, and the fact that their protocol was like 5 or 6 meals a day because they're constantly fueling and feeding. And then there's now this whole weight loss movement in the whole social media genre, like the communities of social media space, and they're talking all about intermittent fasting, basically starve the body, make it hungry, release the ketones, burn the fat. So it's like there's two ends of this spectrum, like the 6 times a day to 8 times a day meals from the heavy high training bodybuilding volume world, and then the starve yourself, almost fast for 2 days at a time, water fasts and stuff. So those are both extremes, and somewhere in the middle of that, we find our most healthy, normal and sustainable. So over the 12 weeks, where do you fall on that, Coach? Do you go with the bodybuilder's approach? Or do you at least lean in the favor? I think it sounds like you're leaning in the favor of towards the more meals versus the fasting, fat burn, that type of thing. Like, or I shouldn't say fat burn, but the whole like creating the ketosis state and all that from the fasting. At least that's what the claims are. You kind of lean more towards the bodybuilder, more meals.
Me personally, yes, but again, when I talk to my clients, it all depends. Like some people would do just fine on an intermittent fasting, 2 meal a day protocol. But like you said, the kind of the happy spot is usually kind of right there in the middle, because I find I kind of come from both worlds of like, I come from like wanting to get the aesthetics of a bodybuilder's type physique. I come from the point of view of trying to like optimize my performance so that I could train better in mixed martial arts and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And then I also come from the perspective of being an entrepreneur and wanting to be like as cognitively enhanced as possible. So some of those intermittent fasting protocols can be beneficial in there. So
Mhm.
I kind of have this happy medium between all of them as
Okay.
far as the meal frequency and everything goes.
Nice. That's super, super great advice because it's suggesting that there's really no like all or nothing on either end. It's fitting it into your lifestyle. And then 12 weeks, you can move towards a specific direction depending on what your goal is. So it's like, what is your goal? You got to really have some goals. We're going to get on that one in point number 8 today. So there's so many great parts of this conversation. And I guess, we don't want to overwhelm people thinking like there's a lot to doing preparing for a challenge, but there really is a lot to it. Like there's a lot of moving parts that you want to consider. We just want to make it simple to get set up. So we're trying to give you those things that you're going to need in advance. And here's another one. So write this down. You're going to need a tracker of some sort if you want to create caloric deficit or caloric surplus or even maintenance. And Coach Aaron and I both have apps that we use to track caloric so we can enter into the data. Now, I've got an app for precision elite training that I use on my company with my clients, and it has a food tracker in it where you can enter things in, but I still ask them to use MyFitnessPal, and it actually integrates the two anyway. So MyFitnessPal talks to the app. Long story short, at the end of the day, we do need some data collection on how much you're eating and be consistent for, like a 7-day run so we can see what your consistency looks like to know how many calories you really do consume on a weekly basis. Because some days you're going to have high calorie, some days you're going to be, life happens, right? You're going to have low calorie. At the end of the day, we kind of need to see how it all balances out over a week's change. That's why we have 12 weeks. It's an adaptation period of week after week, and we can make tweaks and movements along the way if we know where you're at. The clients who get the greatest success with me have always been showing the data for me so that we can have something to look at, right? And we check it on a weekly basis. And they show me what they're eating and then how much it's coming to in macronutrients and calories. Then I can give them a more educated response on what we should do next. So this is important. Is there an app you use, Coach? Is it MyFitnessPal, or do you have a different one that you use?
Yeah, MyFitnessPal, I've just been using that forever, just kind of stuck to it.
Absolutely. Such a great database, right? They've been around a long time. And those of you who don't
Yeah.
know MyFitnessPal, it's Under Armour, which is a company that we all are very familiar with. And they've had that Under Armour app for MyFitnessPal for a very long time. And I've been impressed. You can even enter in, like, let's just say you bought from a specific store. You can mark that store, like say it's Kroger. You could put in Kroger chicken breast, and it literally comes up with the Kroger one, and it's got little verified symbols and everything on it. Like it's pretty detailed, and then it gives you your full macro breakdown. You know what you're getting, you know what you're eating. I had a client the other day put something in, and they were blown away, and it was, I think, a hot chocolate. They were like, it's just a hot chocolate. I was just drinking a hot chocolate. I said, cool. Where'd you get that? And they said, Tim Hortons, which is a franchise restaurant here. I think it's in the States now as well. Tim Horton was a hockey player, I guess, franchised out this coffee shop. Anyway, it's super addictive and popular here. Why? You can figure that out for yourself. Sugar is addictive, right? Processing. So they've got this hot chocolate on the menu. And I said, what do you get? Small, medium, or large? And they said, large hot chocolate. I do it once in a while. I said, cool. Let's put it into and I literally entered it in front of them on the app. And when it came back up with like 58 grams of sugar, they were like, oh my God, that's got to go. I said, okay, well, listen, it doesn't have to go. Let's downsize it to a small, see what happens. And they're like, oh, okay. So I downsized it to small. It came in at about 38. I said, well, that's about equivalent to a can of soda pop. right? Like if you wanted like a Pepsi or a Coca-Cola or whatever. So,
Yeah.
you could, and they're like, oh, I don't even drink pop. I said, well, why not? And they said, well, it's full of sugar. And I just
There you
realized,
go.
oh shit, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh shit. That hot chocolate's no better for me than that can of soda pop because they're equivalent in the sugar. So they were like, okay, so I see what's going on. Even if I downsize, I'm still not winning here in this battle, right? So that's why the MyFitnessPal and those types of trackers are very valuable because you're going to learn some things about foods you were consuming that you didn't really know the value of. And you can't just get it by reading the label of ingredients because you still don't know how much is in. And so it does all the work for you. If you're not a math person, you're like, oh, I don't want to spend the time entering it in and doing all the calculating. All you got to do is enter it in. It does the calculating for you. And at the end of the day, then you can come to Coach Aaron and myself or whoever's coaching you and guiding you and say, take a look at this. It's not my job. I'm not the expert on this. You look at it, tell me what you see. Right. And we can now dive in and go, okay, here's what we see. And we can help you move forward. So, dude, it's just powerful having that data. Have you got any MyFitnessPal stories with clients, Coach? Anything that jumps out?
I would just, let people know that it's not, it seems a little daunting at first if you've never done it, but literally like just track for like a few days or a week and it becomes really easy. Like Lauren said, it's got, the database in there for just about anything. So it can find your meals pretty easy. And then like you said, like the people that track definitely have the best results because it keeps them accountable to themselves. It gives us like something, measurable that we can actually see the progress and whether it's working or not. So yeah, definitely track your stuff.
Nice. That is perfect. And again, we're both saying the same thing, but sometimes hearing it and having Coach Aaron reinforce that point or whatever is like it's going to sink in. You're going to hear it again. You're going to really connect with it. So get that ready and stock up on the healthy foods. That was point number 5, and it's a big point because it's nutrition. That's a major mover. But point number 6, we're starting to get into exercise now. So now you got your kitchen ready, you got your body all measured up, you got your physical assessments and everything. You're ready to get started, but you have no program. You don't even have any equipment. We want to make sure you've at least got a head start. We're going to give you a few days notice here to get some equipment, right? So the necessary equipment in point number 6 is ensure you have workout resistance bands, dumbbells, or gym access. Somewhere you can access the tools, things you might need along the way. Purchase a set of resistance bands with varying resistance levels, and versatile workouts can be done at home. Now, body weight's one thing, but once body weight has reached its amount of like let's just say familiarity of the body, you're no longer going to see benefit anymore from just body weight alone. You need to add resistance. That's progressive overload. Now, Coach Aaron has a full document, I believe. Tell us about that. I think that's in the forum, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got a whole, a home workout based document basically on exercise equipment. So it's got everything from, the exercise bands to, yoga balls and anything that you would need for a home workout program, just getting started in
Mhm.
our Ultimate Man forum. So you can jump in there and grab that. And it's got the links to where you can get everything. So if you're a home workout type of person and you just want the quick fix, jump in there and I tell you exactly what to get.
Perfect. And if you're working out at home, and if you're not, you can go join a gym. They've already got all the equipment. You're paying for access to use it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And people get caught up as they go, if I buy a gym membership, that should solve all my problems. Be careful because all you're paying for is access to use their stuff. There's still no help there, right? So you're going to need a program. You're going to need coaching. You're going to need something to make sure you're getting results. People pay for gym memberships every year that they just invest the money and never show up because they don't even know what to do when they get there. So a gym isn't the answer and home equipment isn't the answer. But if you have entered into our summer shred or you've got a program that you're ready to rock on, now we're going to give you the notice to go get that equipment so you can get it. And you don't need all of it, right? If Coach Aaron's got a list of 25 things you can buy for at home, one piece is a great start. So we're not going to ask you to buy a $500 gym setup of all these different items, although over time, maybe you will develop it, right? You'll acquire all of it piece by piece. But sometimes just one good set of dumbbells or one set of bands with variable weights, like we said, can really answer a lot of what you need in the form of resistance. And to do our summer shred, are the guys going to need anything specific? Like would any one mode of piece of equipment do? Is there one that would stand out to say this is the best one to start with if you're doing summer shred, Coach? What do you think?
I think again it depends on the individual and their goals. Like we have, some guys in there that are wanting to bulk up a little bit, so they're probably going to want to hit some more of the strength training stuff that you can find at a gym, or at least have some good home weights and equipment at home. And then we got some guys that just want to improve their overall, fat loss and increase their metabolism a little bit, get a little bit more functionally fit. That stuff can be easily implemented with just like a set of exercise bands or something like that,
Mhm.
and doing our Fight Fit workout, or some of other strength training workouts.
Good.
So it depends on the person. There's,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. You're right. I think that that's always the best answer too. When you really understand all the variables, is it really does depend. It's never a one solution for every person. Although you did make a point there that I felt like is really important to reiterate, and that's that muscle building is a key to this whole journey. To shredding up is you want to focus on building muscle, and therefore you need resistance. So anything that's going to provide resistance at a variable level that can get heavy enough is going to be solution, it's going to be a solution to the problem. So I like dumbbells myself for at home. I like variable dumbbells. Like I have adjustable ones that can work their way up to as heavy as 52 and a half pounds a side. Now, maybe for some of you, you're like, that's lightweight. Well, we'll show you how to use them properly to get the most out of them. But you can always add rubber bands to that type of device and make heavier weight, right? So you start to combine tools, you get even more more resistance. So again, it's not bad to have a few different types of variable, but again, invest in the one that feels like it fits your budget, and it's reasonable for you to use. And of course, have coaching to make sure you're doing it safe. So as far as equipment goes, those are the things we wanted to talk about. Is there anything else we missed?
No, but you did say something earlier that I wanted to jump on, but you're right in the middle of it. You said a lot of people get the gym membership and then never show up. And then there's also the other end of the spectrum. I see a lot of people go to the gym and they go every day and they're working their tail off, but they're still not seeing any results.
Mhm.
That's almost even more sad to me, because I've been there in that position before, where you're just like working your butt off, and you think you should be seeing some body transformation goals, but you're not seeing anything. And then I look at what they're doing, and I'm like, well, your exercise form and technique is wrong. You're not doing the right type of progressive overload. You don't have any system. You're just kind of doing the same thing over and over. No wonder you're not seeing results. So that's just as sad to me, is not seeing people even go to the gym, period. The ones that are going to the gym and not seeing the results.
Yeah, I can feel that, man, because you're putting in the work and there's no reward at
Yeah.
the end of it. It's so frustrating. And yet they've got that mindset. They want it. They keep showing up. And it's like, oh, it's just, you wish you could take that and give it to someone else who has the plan and they're not using it. You can't teach that desire to want to succeed. You can't teach that. It never comes with a program. That's something you have to have, that hunger. So for the 10 guys that are going to work with us, come in with that hunger. Come in with that desire to win, and we'll give you the tools you need so you're going to succeed, guaranteed. Ooh, listen to that.
Yeah, I
Turning
like
into, turning into Coach
it.
Jameson right
Rub
now.
it off, rub it off. It's just bound to happen.
I love it, man. All right. So once you got the equipment, now it's time to prepare for the workout plan. And again, maybe you're listening to this podcast because you're trying to get the tips and you're not joining the summer shred, but you've got an idea of you're going to do your own thing. Cool. You have to have number 7, creating a workout plan. Develop a structured workout plan that aligns with your goals and your schedule. Plan strength training sessions a few times a week, and then incorporate cardiovascular components and flexibility exercises. So with a workout plan, there's going to be different things. Like Coach Aaron, you talk a lot about the cycles of periodization. And I love that, because that's my whole structure too, is we have to periodize. You just finished saying it. You see people at the gym doing the same thing over and over and over because there's no periodization. They're going in with one program, one idea, and they think it's going to last for one lifetime. Right? Not the case.
Yeah, real quick, for a lot of people that have never even heard the term periodization, what's a good kind of like, description for that, if you could let people know about it?
So the body responds really well to novel stimulations. And I think the best way to sum it up is, if you've been doing something for a very long time, it becomes automatic and it's very easy to do. There's no more growth and challenge in it. Changing the phase or the way that you're doing said thing can change the way your body adapts to it. So progressive overload, when we put more weight on, is one form. But if you just keep chasing that, you can only get so strong. And eventually it plateaus and you're like, I'm trying to raise it and the weight won't go up anymore. Changing the phase changes. And so periodization is to take on another phase of a different mode that's going to stimulate new growth, new challenge. For example, like I say, you got a marathon runner and a sprinter. Right? A marathon runner trains the same way all the time. They just get good at marathoning and long-term duration. But if we ask them to run real fast, they don't have the ability. They're not trained to sprint. The sprinter, on the other hand, can't go for very long. They're short duration. But if we periodized the individual, we could train them to be a combination of both of those athletes. And so in periodization is to change the stimulations so that the body continues to grow through these plateaus. I don't know if that's the Webster's dictionary definition of it, but that's my take on periodization, is the ability to go through different cycles. And I know, Coach Aaron, you talked about a mesocycle and a macro cycle, and it's different duration periods as well of how long you're going to stay in a specific mode. Is there anything you want to elaborate on the cycles?
I think that was a great description. And then, yeah, and I think as far as the meso and the macro cycles, you just need to change. Like a lot of guys here, oh yeah, I got to do 8 to 12 reps, and you got to do this many sets per muscle group, and you got to do this muscle group this many times per week. And then they get stuck in that mindset, and they just stick to that 8 to 12 reps. So that periodization, as Lauren was just saying, is you need to switch things up. You need to alter it. You need to change your repetition scheme, change your volume, change your frequency. All that stuff just doesn't need to be static. So that's part of the progression planning.
Mm-hmm.
And then the macro and the meso cycles, like say, let's call the macro cycle our 12-week program. So within that 12 weeks, we're going to have a couple different mesocycles in there. So say you break it up into 2 6-week mesocycles. Okay. And those mesocycles have a progression plan where you start off, you don't kill yourself right off the bat. You just start off progressively overloading yourself to where you get to, say that 6th week, you've been training real hard for 5 weeks. You're going to maybe take a deload week hypothetically and give your body rest and recovery so that you can come back during that second phase, that second mesocycle, a little bit even stronger, and then crush that the last few weeks of the 12 weeks macro cycle. So that's just kind of a basic overview of how you could structure the mesos and the micros.
I like that. And what I hear you saying there is that there's a deload in there, and a lot of people have no idea. Again, like you said, most people don't know what periodization is. I've had people, and I think there's a lot of listeners out there right now who don't know what you mean by deload. And it's like, that's the stuff you're going to learn when you work with a coach who's got experience, right? You're like, deloading is that like dropping all the weight in the middle of my set. It's like, you have no clue what we're talking about. Well, we want to help you understand it because we didn't understand it at one time either. And I had no idea. And I didn't see the benefit of a deload. I didn't understand like why that would be beneficial because it doesn't make sense. If you think of it on, it's just like the explanation of a deload. And then you understand the physiology of how the body rests and adapts and recovers to re-prepare for the next phase. And it's like, oh my God, there is a lot more to programming than I thought. I can't just go on YouTube, pick the top 5 exercises for chest, and then start hammering that out as heavy as I can and expect that that's going to be the solution for the rest of my life. Not going to work, right? And you can't do that for any given amount of muscle group or series of muscle groups in combination, what you'd call a workout. They have to be properly structured. So many elements to the game. And when you mentioned deload week, I thought we should definitely throw in there that that's part of the plan for recovery. And if you didn't already know about that, it's something that we definitely want to make sure you understand a lot better. And we'll explain that during Summer Shred as well. So for the guys out there listening, don't get caught up thinking, holy shit, I got a lot of planning to do. All we're saying is if you are on your own doing this, you're going to need in point number 7 to create a workout plan. If you're with us in the 10 guys who are going to join us, then we've already got it laid out for you. No stress, boys. No stress.
Done deal. For real.
Point number 8 we wanted to make is set realistic goals. Now, you've heard us talk about this from day one. SMART goals, the specific, the measurable, the attainable. And we might rhyme it off like it's just another acronym, but it's the most important part. It's really having a specific end game. And so establishing an achievable goal for your 12 weeks, focusing on a short-term milestone and a long-term outcome is going to be really important. So I give a couple examples, and Coach Aaron and I are going to kind of give our take on this. I had put in there, if your fat loss goal is to lose 1 to 2 pounds a week, that's a good, measurable, small goal to kind of work on that's going to lead to a long-term goal of maybe losing 6 to 12 pounds over the course of your 12 weeks. And Coach Aaron had a different take on it because some of the guys that he's working with aren't just fat loss and weight loss based. They're actually looking to go the other direction. So what do you think is reasonable for a goal setting in that aspect?
Yeah, so for weight gain, putting on some lean mass, anywhere between about a half to 1 pound per week, which equates to 2 to 4 pounds a month, which over a 3 month period would be like 6 to 12 pounds. And if you put on a solid 6 to 12 pounds over a few months, you're going to look drastically different. It's like 12 pounds of lean mass on your frame is a huge difference. Like you're going to feel jacked, trust me.
Dude.
So, yeah.
Now listen close. If you just gained 6 to 12 pounds of muscle mass, would you want to look back and see the photo of when you didn't have it? There's the reason
Right.
you're going to go back to point one and take that damn photo, right? Coach Aaron just explained why it would be transformational if you had that kind of muscle. Like you'd be like noticeably different. Well, you're going to be real pissed, like he said, if you didn't take that photo. So everything we've mentioned has been a valuable prep point in this whole, getting ready for a challenge. And the challenge is going to be the fun part when it all finally kicks off and gets running and the energy's high, which is going to be amazing. But if you don't have a start date and an end date lined up, then you're not even ready to get your challenge going. So you need to make sure you set a goal, whether it's going to be the weight loss or the fat loss or the muscle gain, and you got to make sure that you have a start date and an end date for it. Pick it, write it down, make it something you see on your calendar, get it in front of you, right? And again, follow what we just gave you as guides so you do it in a reasonable way. Because there's nothing worse than getting a quick fix result and then rebounding and gaining it all back. We're not here to help you do that. We're here to help you succeed long term. That's what the Ultimate Man Project is all about. We're going to find multiple ways in our project to help you guys succeed. We want to give you a home and a community to do that, which now leads us to point number 9. Find an accountability partner and a community. Connect with a friend, a family member, or an online community to support and keep accountable throughout your journey. So my example was join a fitness group or enlist a workout buddy or an online community, which we offer. That's our own personal online community. I really look at it as our brick and mortar gym. If Coach Aaron and I had the Ultimate Man gym, everybody would be lined up around the block. I believe that. I truly, with all my heart, believe that with all of what we have to offer, they'd be there. That place would be booming. Unfortunately, I'm in Canada. He's way over in the US, and we can't get a brick and mortar, so we brought it online. We're giving you guys an online gym to work with. Get in the community, join the family, be part of the brotherhood. We're making a movement here. I'm getting excited.
Nice. Yeah,
Okay.
buddy, let's get it.
Point number 9, find an accountability partner. Coach Aaron, anything specific you want to add to that? Is this a good time to tell them where to get into the forum and where to join the challenges, or what do you think?
Yeah, Summer Shred is starting on March 1st. So if you're watching this, current time frame, and get in by March 1st, you're good to go. We also have them on a regular basis. So if you miss this one, you can jump in our next one. So don't worry about that. But we'll put a link in the description in the show notes here where you can go ahead and get access to the Ultimate Man Forum. Get in there and take a look around for a little bit, and then we're getting ready to rock and roll here in just like another week or two. So yeah, that's that, man. It's an amazing community because a lot of people don't have that support system. Maybe they go to the gym and they maybe have a buddy that works out here and there, but it's a whole nother level when you have like a whole group of guys that are all kind of like all working towards like a similar goal, and like you just have that camaraderie and a little bit of friendly competition, and like you can see like, okay, where people stack up on the fit test, and you're trying to beat your buddies on that, and you're trying to like put on a little more size or lose a little more body fat than your buddies, and you have that weekly accountability and stuff. It's a game changer. So that's why we created the community. So get in there.
Totally, man. There's nothing better than, a good party, right? When all the guys are there, the music's pumping, everybody feels they're in the moment, in the community of it. I always say if you sit back and watch a YouTube video of your favorite artist in concert, it doesn't feel anything like being in the arena. Right? When you go to the concert live, there's an energy. There's a feeling of like, I'm in this. It's almost arm in arm with people you've never even seen before. Like, oh, this is great. You're so caught up in the moment. It's like everybody in there is like one united army of people just enjoying the show. It's a crazy environment. We're trying to create that online. It's not an easy thing to do, but with your help, we can really create that community and put it together. And I already feel it just through conversations we're having with guys in the forum right now. There's a brotherhood being built in there. We've only been at this for a few months. I'm excited what it's going to look like in a few years.
Yeah, no
Absolutely
doubt.
stoked. So, point number 9, get that community. If you don't already have one, get one. It doesn't have to be ours, but obviously, if you love our energy, ours is the place to be. If you connect with someone else better, go there, get into it. We just want to make sure you succeed. At the end of the day, point number 10, eliminate negative influences. Now, this is on the opposite end of that spectrum. If all you're surrounded by is negativity, you got to remove it. And maybe you can't completely remove it, but for the next 12 weeks during your challenge, if this is going to work for you, you're going to need to find a way to remove it, or at least spend as little time as possible in that environment. Create yourself a getaway and experience where you're not going to miss your workouts. You're going to be surrounded by the positive influences that encourage you to succeed. So I wanted to mention in there that our community obviously involves that, but because it's online, you're going to have to be interactive so that you can kind of stay in the environment. Because if you just don't log in and you don't communicate with us, we can't help you. We can't pump you. We can't let the concert be something you can feel. You know what I mean? And I think that's important. And Anthony Robbins always says this because he's got billions of people around the world who come to his online seminars, right? Online. And he's got multiple video screens and everything. I've seen it. I've been part of it myself. And I've seen the energy in there. And it's different when you're online. I totally agree. It's not like you're in the arena feeling the emotional energy, but you can hear the stories. You can see the people going through the experience. And when other people share their part of the experience, it's like you're right there with them. And it really does make sense that you're connecting with humans, even though we are on this, like we're connecting right now. You're listening to us. It's auditory. If you're watching us, it's visual. And you can still feel the energy that we bring. And I hope that that comes through, because when you get in the community, it's even more detailed because it's personalized a little more to you, right? Now we're getting into talking directly to you, the guy listening, right? The Billy that we're actually working with, right? So that's what I want to say is, getting rid of negative influences, the people who are telling you can't do this, it's never going to work, it's 12 weeks, you did this 12 weeks before and it didn't happen. Make this the one that sticks. Make this the one that works. You're in the right place at the right time. Opportunity, I always say this, the opportunity of a lifetime is only as good as the lifetime of the opportunity. Write that down. Right? So
Nice.
the opportunity
Nice.
of a lifetime is only as good as the lifetime of the opportunity. Once this opportunity's gone, you're going to say, I wish I had. That's the thing you need to keep in mind. Now's your time. The reason why you want to do it is yours. It's personal. Coach Aaron, take us home. What do you want to add to getting rid of negative influence?
Yeah, I would just say if what you've been trying has not been working for you, there's most definitely a reason it hasn't. And we've covered and outlined so many factors that could help you out on your journey here. So I hope you guys took notes on this one, because there's a lot of stuff to be able to implement to really make the machine work smoothly. Just yeah, get your starting stats, come up with a game plan, and then I would say too is like a lot of people don't put in the necessary attention and intensity and the frequency and that overall consistency when they're starting a program out. I know it's a lot harder than you think sometimes. Like, I don't want to make it sound like it's a hard, but it does take a lot of focused attention to see some real results. Like, you got to pay real attention to some of these details that we just mentioned. You got to really start tracking your food and giving that some attention. Because if you're off a little bit in the wrong direction, you're going to be training your ass off and not seeing any results. And like I said before, there's nothing more frustrating than just working hard and not seeing any results. So you got to be really specific and dialed in with all of these little things that we mentioned so that you are seeing some constant, steady progress. And that's going to be a game changer.
I love it. I love it. And on that note, I'll raise a toast to that. As always, our Ultimate Man podcast, sponsored by the official drink of the Ultimate Man, which we don't yet have a sponsor for. So if you're out there and you're listening, we need a sponsorship. Cheers, boys.
My secret pre-intra post-workout drink right there.
Now you actually got it right now.
Get into the form and I'll give you the secret sauce.
There it is. There's your irresistible offer, the bonus. He's actually going to give us the recipe to what's going on inside there. What's Coach Aaron got in his bottle? I can't wait until next week for another great conversation. But that is it for today, boys. Top 10 things to prepare for your 12-week challenge. And again, we hope to see you as one of our 10 guys joining the Summer Shred I can't wait to see what we do. We're in there. We're actually working with you. Our transformations are going to be badass, and we want to make sure yours is too. So, on that note, I say we bring it in, boys. What do you think? Bring it
Let's
in.
get it.
Yeah.